Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25. We are brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. I'm Justin Barrientos, joined as always by head football coach Tom Sawyer. Now, last week when we were previewing the Minnesota Crookston game, you kind of mentioned you know who the opponent was. You knew that it was probably going to be a big blowout, and in fact, it was 51-13. So, with all of that kind of in the forefront, how did the team perform this week?
Actually, really well. I told them after the game and on Sunday that, for all of the things that we talked about, the conditions, I mean, we had 34-mile-an-hour winds. It was a slippery surface. But our kids handled it just fine. And they came out. They wanted to be there. They played. They had fun. They played physical. And we made a lot of big plays. And so that's what I was looking for, because that's really difficult to do when you have a pretty good idea what you're up against. So I'm very happy with that, the way we came out of the locker room. The trip was a success. We got the W and got back on the bus and got home before midnight, so all was good.
All right. Now, you were kind of texting and joking all throughout the week about cold and snowy Crookston, and in fact, you did have a little bit of snow there. We see in some of the pictures that are up on the website, the big snowbanks that are piled up on the side. With that, it was mainly a running game for you guys. Didn't have a whole lot through the air. Was that kind of the plan all along to go in this week? Well,
we still wanted to be balanced if we could, and we did have a nice, Owen threw a nice touchdown pass to Tanner Grand that was like right into the teeth of the wind. But, in those conditions, that's what you got to be able to do. And the guys up front did a great job. Tight ends did a nice job. And our receivers blocked their butt off. So you start thinking about what their job is for the day. It's like, drive 8 hours to block. And but they did a nice job, very nice job. In fact, on one long run that we had with Miguel Benjamin, what's his name? Tyler Knutson blocked the kid out of bounds like twice. He blocked him for so long, he came back in, blocked him again. So it was a great day for that. For how we had to play the game, we handled that just right.
So you mentioned Miguel Benjamin. Another career high for him is he had a 70-yard touchdown that you said, 85 yards rushing on the year. Is that kind of a surprise to see him do so well in the snaps that he does get towards the end of the games this year?
I don't think it's a surprise at all for all of us that see him practice every day. He's a very talented kid. He's fast. He works his tail off. He's smart. He's only in his second year, and last year he played running back as a redshirt, and now this year he moved him to receiver, and all of a sudden he's back at running back due to some injury, and he's fit right back in. He's right back in the group, and I coach those guys as a position, so it's fun to have him back in our room. But the guys in the room, we have a great bunch. One of them's here today, Eric Berth, but they opened their arms up and brought him in and said, "Let's go," and he's done a tremendous job when we needed him most.
All right, and then another career high was Sam Santiago-Lloyd. He had 122 yards on the ground. Again, you plug in these different running backs, Eric Berth and Javian Roebuck, Sam Santiago-Lloyd, Miguel Benjamin, and they all seem to be able to contribute. Obviously, that's some of them too, but it's got to be the offensive line then too.
They're doing a great job, and all of our running backs are guys that a lot of people just don't want to tackle. I mean, they're big and they're strong. Miguel make you miss a little bit more. He's not very big, but it's a good compliment. Our guys up front are understanding, and we got 2 redshirt freshmen starting on the right side of the line. We have a redshirt freshman playing H-back for us part of the time. So really, we're really young up there, but the leadership has been really good with Colin Valley and Carter Berlin kind of taking it under their wings, and Coach Holsklaw's done a nice job getting those guys prepped up, because we saw a lot of different pictures last week, and we'll see more this week with Duluth. But more importantly is the guys up front they get a seam. Our guys, once they get their footing underneath them, then it was just try to tackle the big kids.
You mentioned all the different people in the different positions. Kind of explain to people how difficult it is to have that continuity in the offensive line, because as we know, they have to know what everybody else is doing. You plug in new players in there, that kind of throws things off, but it really hasn't for you yet.
Well, it hasn't, and don't say yet, because I hope it stays that way. The biggest thing, though, Justin, is that group, is really like and I'll use this term kind of funny, but more like a ballet, where everybody has to work together and be in synchronized together. And one guy that's just off just a little bit, and the whole thing falls apart, because they have to feel each other on each play, not just know where their assignment is, but they're bumping off each other and going to different levels and those kind of things. So there's a lot to playing offensive line, and most people just think it's smashing people and eating a lot, and it's not. It's a very cerebral part of the game.
All right, let's kind of move on to the defense, because the defense played very well and also scored some points for you. You had a safety and then a fumble recovery for a touchdown by Alex Evans. Just talk generally first how the defense played this week.
Well, we keep getting faster and faster, and it's because they're knowing what they're doing. Again, there's another side of the ball that has a lot of new players playing, and once you start figuring out what you're doing, then you can start playing. Alex Evans, it was a snap, got away from him, and he hammered it down and went and got it, and all of a sudden we got a touchdown out of the deal, and guys just are aggressive at the quarterback, and we knew that they couldn't throw it a lot, obviously, so there was really playing on the line of scrimmage a lot, but the tempo in which our defense is playing is where we thought it was in the beginning of the year.
Right.
Now it's starting to show up again, so that youth movement that we have is really starting to grow as a defensive unit, and it's fun to watch.
We'll talk to Cole Moncton a little later on in the show, but you kind of mentioned it, this kind of resurgence in the defense after a couple of games where it looked like, well, this doesn't look like the defense that she had last year. Right. Talk about that whole unit being able to, come back once again and be a dominant defense.
Well, and again, it kind of goes back to one is health. Cam Gavin went down the first week, with a dislocated elbow, and we bring a freshman kid in there, and all of a sudden he's got to figure that all out. So all of a sudden, he had a touchdown a week ago, that kind of stuff. And Kenneth Sanders, we have, different guys playing. Isaiah Hall is a great corner along with Cole, and then he got hurt. So then you plug another kid in there. So that continuity is really hard to do when you don't have all your kids there all the time. And where you're seeing it the most is up on the defensive line. We got Cole LaLiberty back now, and he's been playing 3 great games. He just took over the dive. The guy had like 15 yards on the ground against him. He just manhandled the front. So there's a kid that's really dominant when he's in there. You just got to keep him in there. So that group now is stabilized a little bit. Those kids have now got 3 or 4 games under their belt, and it seems like they've been playing for a couple years.
All right. You got out to a huge lead going into the fourth quarter. I think it was a 44-0 lead, something like that. How do you keep the team focused in a game like that? The opponent only has 1 win on the season. You're out to a big lead. How do you make sure that the team finishes at the end?
Well, again, we just have so many young guys that that's playing time for those guys. I mean, there wasn't anybody more excited than the team around Miguel Benjamin when he scored a touchdown. I mean, the guys were rallying around him. You should have seen our sideline. In fact, John Rumps almost ran him down in the play. But, it's fun because our everybody knows how hard it is to get on the field, to be a starter, to be that guy. And then it's really hard to maintain it, especially when you have great depth. So, but when those young kids get on the field, man, everybody's behind them, and you want them to do well. And when they do, it's pretty exciting.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the depth on special teams, because we talk offense and defense, and obviously you've had some injuries on special teams as well. So first, for the kick and punt return game, how did that go this week?
Actually went really well. We brought another kid in named Darrell Williams, and he's a redshirt freshman from Chautauqua, Wisconsin, another Chautauqua kid, but and he's explosive too, and he's a wide receiver. And in fact, a year ago, he was in Duluth trying to play basketball, and said, forget that, and he came back here with some of his teammates, and now he's here with us, and he's a dominant force out there. He had a couple punt returns the other day where it was kind of a knuckleball in the wind, and he just took off and went and caught it on the fly and took off. He scored his first touchdown this week, in the passing game, he's just another guy, just like Jake Blue, just like Isaiah Hall, that they can wiggle. They got great hips, and they make people miss even in the mud. And so he's a tremendous player. We just know that we got something special in Darrell Williams.
All right, from the kicking game, point after attempts were 7 of 7. So yep. That's kind of solidified a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. Nate Genrich has been doing a nice job. We just couldn't afford on this trip to take both kickers. Okay. We knew the conditions were going to be bad, and we went with the little bit bigger leg to say, especially for our kickoffs into the wind and that kind of stuff. But Paul made all of them. In fact, the first one he slipped and fell down right on his butt, so it was kind of funny, but he made it. And we just have to score points with those units. And, every one of those points matters in big games, and that'll matter again as we move forward. So it was a nice day for Paul Ortiz. All
right. You got 3 sacks on the game. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we just got him into it where they had to throw it, try to throw it into that wind. And our guys, Mike Ferrante was a man. I mean, he was bullying guys, and he was fast. He had a lot of hurries, too, where the guy was just running for his life, and so they didn't count his sacks. But I think he had 1 sack and a couple tackles for loss, and ended up leading us, I think, in tackles this week. But he is healthy, and he's playing fast, and we get him back on the turf for the next 3 out of 4, actually all the last 4. But he's something to work with right now. All
right, we'll kind of get into specifics about next week towards the end of the broadcast, but you have 2 home games now in a row. Talk us through how much does that make a difference that now you don't have to plan to go on the road, you don't have to have this plan of what guys you're going to bring
Right.
with you on the road. Now you got 2 at home.
Yeah, it's awesome. 3 of our last 4 here are at home. So the schedule worked out great for us. We have, Duluth is number 5 in the country right now. They're coming in. We're playing for a sledgehammer, the big sledge, on the next week, and then we go out to Augustana, which will be a big game, and we finish up with Concordia St. Paul here at home. But one, it gives us another time to bring in recruits. When you get 6 home games in a season, that's huge for recruiting because we bring a lot of kids in to watch our game day with all the tailgate, all the stuff that we have going on. It's a big sell for us, and this time of year is a huge recruiting time.
All right, sounds good. Let's take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. We'll get the player perspective. When we come back, Eric Berth will be our guest right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
Stay up to date with Winona Area Public Schools by watching Making the Grade here on HBC TV 25, presented by Cost Cutters. Join me, Superintendent Rich Dahman, each month for interviews with administrators, district staff, and students. Tune in to Making the Grade Monday through Friday here on HBC TV 25, brought to you by Cost Cutters of Winona, located in the professional building in the Winona Mall Annex.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill, and joining us now is Eric Berth. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we talked to Coach Sawyer about the revolving kind of offensive line because of injuries. Different people are in different positions. From the running back position, how much does it matter who's out there in front of you blocking and how much do you need to know about who's making the holes for you on the offensive line?
Honestly, we don't need to know much because they're all out there doing a great job. So whenever there's someone new comes in, we don't really worry that much because we know they're going to go out there and do their best. So it really doesn't bother us that much.
All right.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. The tempo of different kids in there sometimes. And talk just a little bit about your reads because sometimes that does make a difference on our power and stuff. So why don't you just talk about how that may change our read?
Well, Colin Valley being on right guard, it really doesn't change that much because he played it before. I played behind him when he was at right guard. So, knowing him, it's a little bit, I guess, our read can go a little bit faster because he's out there. He's way faster than, some other guards that we have. And then at right tackle, when we're going outside zone, we have a freshman out there, Joe Carson is his name. We have to go a little bit slower with him because, it takes him a little bit longer to understand things and get out there a little bit quicker than most guys do. So that's a little bit harder for us reading outside zone, and really that's it. I can't remember who else is on the line now, to be honest with you.
No, but that's a good thing. I'll just throw another one just on that part. But we have been splitting some time trying to keep you guys healthy, and everybody'd like to be the only back in the game. We get that. Everybody wants that. How difficult is that, Eric? And how is that a stress in the group?
In a group, it's really not that big of a deal. We all, whenever a different running back is in, we're all out there cheering for each other. So that's not a big deal for us. But we enjoy watching each other. But it's tough sometimes, because you go in and then you get 5 plays, and then the next person goes in on the next series. So it's tough to get into a rhythm. But we all, as you can see, when we're out there, we do our job and we end up doing good. So it's really not that bad.
So talk about the rhythm. When you're out of the game and you're watching, what are some of the things that you need to do to kind of keep yourself in the game and get ready for the next time that you're out there?
I'll give an example. When Sam is in and he comes to the sideline, we all get into a group and we talk about what we see, what's going on out there. So we let the other running back know. So when he gets in, then he tries to use what we talk about to understand what's going on out there. So we kind of help each other out in that way.
All right. We talked all season long about different running backs in the mix, and now Miguel Benjamin is in that mix, and obviously he's a younger player, a freshman. You're a senior, so are you kind of that mentor type to the younger running backs that come into the mix?
I wouldn't say the mentor. I guess I am the oldest on the team, but
father, the father of the group.
It's we all bounce ideas off of each other. So we all try to mentor each other. Even me being the oldest, sometimes Jay helps me out with things. Sam helps me out with things. I help them out. So we all can use each other when we need ideas or something like that.
All right, as a senior, what has it meant to you to play your football here in Winona State? Been a Winona High graduate and taking the purple on here. What has it meant to you?
It means a lot, actually. You know, being able for like my family to come to games. You know, being able to have like family and friends come and still see me play football. It means a lot that I get to wear, you know, the purple. So it's pretty cool for me.
You know, the last question I have for you, Eric, is I think the hardest part about playing running back really is not running the football. It's pass protections, and is a ton of blitz and a lot of those things in the game today. How difficult is that, and take us through what happens when somebody's blitzing?
First off, I mean, when you see somebody coming full speed at you, you just like you take 2 steps and they're already at top speed. It's a little scary at first. You don't know if you're gonna actually put your hands out there, or if you're gonna go down and like try to chop their knees out. So like the first thought is like you just sitting there, you're looking, you see him coming, you're like, okay, he's coming extremely fast. Like I don't really want to throw my hands out there. I don't know what's gonna happen with that. So we usually just try to dive and take their legs out. So. Pass block is one of the hardest things. It's not fun at all.
All right. Last question I have for you. A big game, obviously, this week against Minnesota Duluth. This whole season has kind of been big games for you guys. What do you need to do to be successful this week against Duluth?
I just think we need to keep going. Like you saw, like our offense, like we've been doing a really good job over the last couple of weeks. So we just got to keep that going, and then make sure like we stay on the field longer, like for longer drives, so the defense can rest instead of them coming on like they get off and then they come back on a minute later because we turn the ball over. We don't get first down or anything like that. So we just got to keep picking up first down and third downs, getting third downs, and just keep moving the ball.
All right, sounds good. Good luck this week, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. We'll switch to defense and talk with Cole Moncton right after this.
Elevate your HBC TV experience with the latest technology to hit your whole home entertainment system. Record up to 6 programs simultaneously and save up to 350 hours of your favorite shows. Pause a program you're watching in one room and pick right up where you left off in another. Video on demand, wireless set-top boxes and mobile device streaming, apps including Alexa, Netflix, YouTube, and more. Call 888-474-9995 to learn more or visit hbci.com/elevate today. With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25, brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. As we said, we're going to switch to defense. Cole Moncton now joins us, and thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Kind of the same area of question that I asked Eric in the show. With all the injuries that are on defense, how difficult is it to be playing with different guys that maybe than you started the season with?
It's definitely different, but our philosophy is just next man up. So we just always got to get the next guy prepared and ready to go, and make sure they know that what they're doing and their assignments. And it's not different like reading a different lineman's blocks. It's more of just getting them prepared and ready to go to do their job, so that everybody on defense can just do their 1/11th.
All right.
You're looking at playing corner. It's the toughest position in the game. No question about it. Some people think it's the quarterback, but yeah, and you're great at it. Talk about why that is such a different and difficult position to play week after week after week.
Well, you're always going against a new offense, and they're always running different. All offenses have good receivers in our league, so there's that, and good quarterbacks that know where to put the ball.
Yep.
And they're always running different, route combos that we got to prepare for, stuff that stresses our coverages and stuff like that. So it's definitely a challenge for sure.
Yep, and you talk about, we play a lot more man cover this year than we have in the past. And I know as a corner you love that and get challenged. And you got that 6'5" receiver like a Zylstris type kid. You caught a couple balls on you early and then you shut him down the second half. How cool is that when they say, okay, we got a taller guy and we're going to work, and you just how do you react to that?
It's just a challenge. So you just got to accept the challenge and stand up and fight against it. So it's me and Isaiah out there, and we're not vertically that tall. So
this is a good room for that.
So there's that, with me and Isaiah. Teams look at our corners and they see, the height advantage that their receivers might get. So it's definitely a challenge for us. But like I said, we just accept it. We love it. It's just part of the game, and we look forward to it every week.
Absolutely.
So does that fuel you a little bit more because people say, oh, we're going to throw at him because we think that we can pick on him a little bit?
Yeah, I think definitely, I felt like last year a lot I was getting picked on, sort of say. But yeah, it's great. So I like it. Keep coming my way. I just like being on the field and making plays. So it's definitely fun.
All right, I got to ask you something about technique because a lot of times we pick on the defensive backs if there's a penalty thrown for like pass interference, and we say, oh, he's got to look back for the ball. How hard is it to be out there and to guard your receiver and then try to remember, oh, I got to look back, otherwise I'm going to draw a penalty here?
Yeah, definitely a challenge. I'm always having my back turned to the plays. I don't even see Mike Ferrante getting sacks and stuff like that. So it's kind of sad. I want to see my friends balling out and making plays, but like I said, you just got to do your job. So turning your back, it's definitely difficult when the ball's in the air. Always sidelines helping out with ball calls when the ball's in the air.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tough, to get your head around in time and try to locate the ball when it's in the air, but just part of the game. You got to be able to do it.
All right.
You've been around. It's your third year starting for us, and we're going into the Duluth game this week, and number 5 in the country right now. Right. What do we have to do defensively, and especially in that secondary, with the kind of team that Duluth is going to bring in here?
We just kind of got to play our game. Like you said, we've been playing a lot of man-to-man coverage, so we have the guys to just be able to do that.
Yep.
So we just got to lock it in, be able to play, our coverage as well. Just like I said earlier, we got to be able to get all 11 guys doing their 1/11th on defense, and that'll all accumulate to shutting down their offense.
Awesome.
All right, last question I have for you is the same thing I asked Coach Sawyer. You got 2 home games coming up here. From the player perspective, what is that like to know that you don't have to go back out on the road for a little while? You get to stay home and prepare the way that you usually would for a home game.
Home games are nice. The crowd is always unbelievable here. I've actually had fun on all the road games. I really enjoy it. We get out of this town for a little bit. We hit the road, and then we're in a hotel with just the players and coaches. It really brings us together. But home games are also awesome. Like I said, the environment's really cool. We do the Warrior Walk now, which is just 10 times better than what it was my freshman year. So, the environment, it really gets us fired up, and it's really cool.
All right, cool. Thank you for joining us here, and good luck this week.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. We'll talk about the opponent next week, Minnesota Duluth, right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See? We told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25, brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. And we've got a little bit of extra time here, so I want to ask you about Eric Berth. Now that he's not here, we can kind of talk about him a little bit. He's gone through so many injuries and so many things during his career. As we said, he's a senior, so he's about to play his last couple of games. Tell us a little bit about what you expected from Eric when you brought him here, and what he's brought to the table, and what you'll miss when he's gone.
Well, first of all, we got exactly what we thought we were going to get. We were going to get a very talented young man. He's fast, but he has gone through a tremendous amount of injury, and he kept fighting and kept working on his academics. And here, this kid's going to graduate and go into education. And I'll tell you what, we even more than what we thought we were going to get is his leadership on this football team. He has taken on a role here in Winona, not just at Winona State, but in Winona as really a role model for young men in Winona, the high school kids, the middle school kids. He's a very, very important person in this town. And I mean that in so many ways because he works with the high school track kids. He works out in the summer with those kids. He spends an unbelievable amount of time with the Winona high school kids. And I think that's really valuable. And he's doing it all right. He found a way to get his degree, and we helped him with scholarship and those kind of things. But he's earned every step of the way. So what Eric Berth has done for the community already is really remarkable. And I hope he stays right here in Winona and is a coach and teacher and do all those kind of things because he will help change some lives and many lives along the way.
All right. Now, I tried to ask him about being a mentor to the other running backs, and he kind of brushed it off a little bit, but it sounds like that's exactly what he is.
Yeah, he is. Not as much in our room. We have a lot of strong personalities in there, but he does. He's kind of this is why it's important to me. And you get to be that way when you're a senior, and we've all been there. But you get there and you're at the point where everything means a little bit more to you. Every time you walk on the field, it's like, okay, this is getting to be the end. This is the last time I get to play this team. This is the last time I might play ever. And it starts hitting you a little bit when you're a junior and senior that it's about over. And I think for him, his legacy is just starting. But his football career, even though it may be over here soon, it has been tremendous in everything that we hope for from Eric Berth.
All right, so we'll switch from talking about a senior to talk about those coming in. You mentioned that these will be big recruiting weekends with a couple of home games. Kind of walk us through what you show the recruits when they come in to experience the game day at Winona State.
Yeah, you know what? It's really important. We use our freshman kids now, our redshirt kids. They come and they help tour. We talk about, we do a whole game day agenda, but we bring them in. All of our coaches talk to them briefly. They get a chance to meet us, talk about our program's philosophy a little bit and about who we are. And then we take them on a tour of our campus, and then we take them down the Warrior Walk and get them involved, and their family eats dinner in the president's tent, has a little lunch there. And then they're down on our sideline for pregame, and then they're up in the bleachers just enjoying the rest of the game. And then we'll meet with some kids that are individuals or as a group afterwards as well. So it's a full day of recruitment. But I think the most important time is the families that meet our other families that are in the tailgate area. And then the second part is hanging out on the sideline, being part of our game day with our red shirts who are telling them what's really happening here because they're only a year apart.
And it has to make you feel really good to hear Cole Moncton talk about the Warrior Walk and how it's so much better than it was when he was a freshman, because I know that that's a part that's near and dear to you, to make this a complete experience on game day.
Yeah, and kind of going back to the Eric Berth thing too. I mean, I've been in Winona 40 years here, so every time we go out there on a game day, I want it to be a Winona event, and it's becoming that way. We had 52 businesses at our Warrior game day last week, and I'm sure we'll have a bunch this week too. But our home game, I want it to be attractive for everybody from 8 to 80 or more. And I just want people to see our players in a different light. One is watching them, be in the game and watching it on TV is awesome, but to actually interact with them and get their hands on them, and you see those little kids high-fiving our players coming down, that's powerful stuff. And we want to be out front of that and lead that as far as the engagement in Winona with our athletes.
All right, let's talk about this Saturday then. Let's start with the injury report. I know coming into the Crookston game you said it's not very good. Hopefully it's gotten a little bit better. It
has gotten a little bit better. We only had 3 casts last week on the field, so we're getting there. Trey Tellez came back and played, and Joel Miller, a right tackle, got back in the game. He's been a 2-year starter for us, but he's got a broken hand too, so it's hard to play tackle with a club. Yeah. And then Jacob Stanislawski, he has a club, but then he wrecked his ankle last week too, so he didn't make the trip, but hopefully he'll be ready to go this week. So the kids that can come back, most of everybody will be back. We'll see. Javian dinged up his shoulder a little bit, so we pulled him out of the game, and that's probably why you saw Miguel even get more carries than normal. But yeah, guys, like Cole said, next guy up, and we're ready to go. And they're beat up a little bit too. They lost one of their top receivers earlier in the year, Jason Baltz. In fact, he's from my hometown. Yeah. So we're doing a little Barron Day at the game. Because we have Isaiah Franson, I have a freshman, Braxton Seaman, and they have Jason Baltz, and Barron sits right in the middle between us. So we're going to have a lot of folks down here from our hometown. It'll be fun.
All right, talk about Minnesota Duluth coming in. Obviously, it's another big game on your schedule.
Yeah, I think they're 5th in the country right now. They're 7-0. They beat Bemidji in overtime. That was the biggest game they've had in the North, and they don't have the schedule we had this year. But it's huge for us. They're going to come in. They score a lot of points. I think they're leading or second in scoring and first in defense. And they're good. They're not awesome. They're just really good. And if we do things right and take care of the football and do all the little things right, put ourselves in position right before the half and right at the end of the game to win it, I have no doubt that we can win the football game.
All right, sounds good. Good luck this week, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. This is the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25. We'll see you next week.
Number 200.